some of the more observant might have seen us before and realised that we once upon a time had a podcast. It was called Leader Built, and it was okay. Actually, it wasn't that great. It was okay, but we've made some changes. We haven't got a name for this new one yet, but I'm with Laura Racky here. We're back. We're going. We've come back. Are you ready to go?
From the dead.
Anyway, let's just start. We were Leader Built. We're not Leader Built anymore. We are of a name that's yet to be decided. Have you decided what our name is yet?
It doesn't matter.
Let's just start. Okay. So today we're powered by the Call Me Jack Studios. As you can see, this is just a magnificent space that we're in for our first one back. I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
Too.
What are we talking about today? Do we care what we're talking about?
No, I think that we agreed that we didn't have a plan and we didn't want a plan for our first go around today.
But we put a few topics down just in case we got lost. So we're here for a conversation in Call Me Jack Studios. We're not Leader Built anymore. All that's done. Okay. What would you like to start with? Let's start. I've got one segment I'd like us to do.
Okay.
It's called Laura Loves.
Well, we should talk about why we decided we wanted to have that sort of a segment.
Why don't you tell me why you thought you wanted to have this sort of a segment?
Because I think it's really natural and normal for lots of podcasts and lots of conversations and even in daily life to be like the complaints department. I'm definitely heavily guilty of it. And I'm
complaints department.
Complaining.
Yes. Doesn't sound like you. Doesn't sound like you, to be honest.
And I'm really working on it. And so when we were talking about the podcast, I said, I don't want us to have conversations about things we don't like or that we're angry about or complaining about.
Let's see how long we can hold that up for. I'll give us 5 minutes. Let's start with Laura Loves. What do you love? What are you loving right now?
I like a lot of things and I love a lot of things. I'm going to talk about something that has stood the test of time in Laura years because, as you know, I'm really fickle. I get obsessed with things for a very short period of time.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And then I want to move on. Something I've not moved on from is the Loco Love chocolate.
Loco Love chocolate. They're the ones Byron Bay?
Byron Bay. Remember we went to the warehouse, the factory.
We did. It's beautiful.
Made a pilgrimage.
It was actually a pilgrimage.
Almost 99% of the reason for going up to Byron Bay that day.
Yes. We went there for one day to go. Anyway, carry on.
On top of it being like a delicious product, it's so well marketed. It's all super spiritual. There's spices and you know, it's
flavors,
combinations. It's just marketed beautifully. Yeah. And for me, it's become this daily ritual that I look forward to.
Daily?
Yes.
Daily?
Yes.
Okay.
I have one if I'm in control of myself a day.
And how many if you're not in control?
3 to 4.
Look,
they're $6 a go, so one's probably enough.
So it's about quality, not quantity, but sometimes about quality and quantity.
Anyway, what I'm saying is the reason why I enjoy it so much is because it comes with this beautiful, spiritual, delicious, amazing, joyful moment in eating the chocolate. You know, it's not this raccooning in the pantry shame eating type of
which we both do. We raccoon in the
I put it in a bowl. I want to enjoy the ritual. It's amazing. Anyway, and I have been enjoying it for quite some time and I will continue to do so. I think until last week you felt like bringing up a conversation about where our chocolate comes from.
No, well, so last week you got some new boxes of Loco Love and what flavour was that?
The chili.
We
love
really
truffle.
Need to organise a sponsorship here. If you all want to send us a little bit, we could do with that, right?
One a day.
One a day. Send us one a day. We'll talk about Loco forever. And I just said, do you know where that chocolate's coming from? And you went, what do you mean? What is that you said? What do you mean?
I said, do I want to know?
No. And I don't want to be too. So I'm not the authority on this, but I had listened to Mr. Beast, biggest YouTuber in the world. I mean, he started the business Feastables, and he's got these chocolate. That is his brand. And the reason he did it is because, as he says it, whether it's true or not, is that he had a look at the supply chain of chocolate around the world and was less than enthused with it. And a person of his means, he said, well, there must be a way to fix this. Let's go and start our own brand. And when they started, they were getting their cocoa from Peru. And my best understanding via him and via some other things that I've read is that Peru's pretty on the up and up. Like Peru is an industry that's not exploitative, if you like. I don't know for a fact, I'm not there. But once you get to a certain size, then you have to go to, my best understanding, West Africa. And that is when things get a little bit more grey. And if you think about how farming works in that part of the world, the whole world, I mean, I was looking last year, there's weather events that have caused the cocoa to be in shortage at the moment. And that West Africa, I think, is with the main sort of corridor. And he was saying that, I don't want to quote what he said as far as the depth of the depravity, because I'm not sure I don't know that it's accurate. I haven't tested it, but it was more than 1 million kids working in maybe not slavery, but close enough. And so I asked you the question, do you know where your chocolate comes from?
Well, I did go and look, and it is from Peru, but I haven't looked beyond that. And I think then we were having a conversation about how easy it is not to think about these things. But I do want to say that Feastables or whatever.
Yes.
I've seen that. Isn't it full of crap?
I don't think so. I don't
like
think
high protein.
Well, no, I don't know. I've never had it. I've never looked at it. And
I'll reserve judgment.
And to be honest,
I
don't know anything about him as whether he's I'm not speaking for him. I was just listening to some of what he was saying.
Yes.
And a person of that level, if he's out there making up stories, he'd be very quickly community
noted. Wasn't there
a
conversation that he had with someone in the industry?
He said he was talking to someone, maybe, recall is not my strongest skill.
Me either.
So he was saying something like he had met with industry executives from chocolate companies when he was thinking about starting it, and he maybe raised some of the humanitarian issues and this is again, second, third hand. He said that, well, there's nothing we can do about that sort of thing. They sort of throw their hands in the air and say that's just how it is. And then you think to yourself, I mean, do we really want to? I mean, let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. The cobalt mines that we've all seen the videos of, there was a guy whose name escapes me, I'm sorry to say, who did a documentary on the working conditions in the cobalt mines, and that cobalt goes into every single battery, iPhone, iPad, Samsung, every computer, camera, and probably everything else. And I mean, if you watch the video, it's impossible to watch and think that if it was you, your kids, your family in that environment, that you wouldn't be rioting, kids covered in dust and whatnot, babies on backs, all that sort of business. And we just keep playing on. We'll get a new iPhone and play on.
Why do you think we don't, my reaction about the chocolate? Why do you think it is that we turn the blind eye? Is it many reasons? Is it because we don't want to know? Do we not care? Do we accept that that's just the way the world is?
I think that's all part of it, but I think there's a bigger reason. I think we are wired. I'm wading outside my area of expertise here. Let's say I think we are evolutionarily wired to a certain size, might be 100 people, 50 people, tribes that we would have been in only 5, 6, 7 generations ago, not that long ago, maybe 20 generations ago. And I don't know that we can think too far beyond that. We can know that something's happening, an atrocity in a tribe, 10 tribes over, and be nervous about it from our own point of view or empathetic to them. But we're like, sorry, I've got my own shit to deal with, right? I can't be worrying about that. And it's like, okay, well, what can I do about it?
So you think that actually we haven't evolved? That's interesting.
I think it's part of it.
We haven't evolved to know about what's happening outside of.
No, we know, but we can't. There's a limit, I think, to what we can do about it. So we sort of
But why do we shut it out though? Well,
think about how people deal with trauma. There's mechanisms within your body that will block you remembering certain traumas. Like our body is built to be able to focus on the now, the tribe, the hierarchy we're involved with, not getting pushed down the hierarchy. If you think about from a chimp's point of view, like they're always like, they're angling for getting further up the hierarchy, better food, better this, better that. I still think we're wired with that old ancient, those systems, those reward systems. And there's no there's no internal reward system for caring about someone we can't help. And it all seems too much. And the empathy, you get overblown with the empathy and you feel entirely helpless. So what are you going to do? I'll be a protest of one and not by phone, let's say.
Yeah.
Right? That would be a place to start. And then maybe start a club and then maybe get 1,000 and maybe get 10,000 and maybe get 100,000. And if it was organised correctly, you could probably do it. And then you might get somewhere. But if you're not prepared to do that, nothing's going to happen.
My new mate, Ram Das.
Explain.
On my spiritual journey.
Explain to the uninitiated who Ram Das is.
Well, he was a Jewish boy, turned Buddhist, turned spiritual leader. Only just probably in the last 2 weeks landed on his work. But, you know, a lot of what he talks about is influenced by the Buddha's teachings. But what I'm
You've got
finding,
his book here somewhere.
I've got his book. I put it on the desk.
Yeah. Spiritual enlightenment. Hey, I'm not laughing. We're on the same journey
his
here.
His book, Be Here Now. That's the book, Be Here Now.
Are you here now?
I'm here now.
Okay.
Now. And now.
So we got here via what? Eckhart Tolle and others before that. Like we've been on a little bit of a journey.
Anyway,
spiritual journey.
We're digressing. So
we've got to be here now.
We're talking about the suffering because a lot of you know, spiritual lessons are around learning to suffer and that life is suffering and that you must embrace the suffering just as much as the joy to a place where almost you're neutral about both.
This is the Buddhist and the Taoist and all
you
that.
know,
Like this is all that.
You know, and this.
Everything is everything.
Everything is everything. It's all part of it. And the child taking their last breath from starvation, this is an example he uses, is the same, should bring the same joy and beauty as the child taking their first breath as they're born, because it's all part of the same. It's all part of the one. I don't know how you get there. It's not easy. I have always excluded things that I can't process, fix, control, because it's too overwhelming.
Sorry, take a step back. You've excluded things that you can't
I've
fix.
pushed out of my mind.
So you just say, I can't fix that, so get out of my mind.
Yes. And I will find things that are manageable and available, like working with Big Group Hug, for example.
Yeah.
I can't.
So charity begins at home.
I can't think about every kid in the world because I probably just wouldn't get out of bed in the morning.
It's true. It's true. And just like we'll come back to just jumping back to what you're asking about, you know, we know what's going on in the Congo, for instance, and we knew what was going on when the Belgians were there not that long ago and all this sort of behaviour from only 150 years ago. What do? There's not a lot we can do, I'm sorry to say, you know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And even those with institutional power will often do nothing, right? Let's say. If you are ever in that situation where you are stuck worrying about the kids in the Congo or any of 50 other causes, go to your local charity and donate 10 hours of your time, right? Go and do something that affects butterfly effect, the next person down the line. Take some of your time and put it somewhere where it actually helps, like Big Group Hug.
Or, you know, talk to your elderly neighbour who doesn't get many visitors. It doesn't have to be so
unsexy, right? I agree with you. No, but that's not, you know, if you need the feeling of doing something, right? Maybe talking to your neighbour's not going to give reward system.
Yeah.
Give you commit 3, 4, 5 hours a month to your local charity.
That's true.
The one you can walk to.
I feel like we've gotten too, I know we talked about not having small talk, but I feel like we've gotten too serious too quick, Christian.
All right, I want your reaction to a situation. Right now, this is such a I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it. There's a guy.
Dangerous.
You're going to have to fill in some spaces for me because, as you know, I'm not pop culture. I'm not really that switched onto it. There's a guy. Is it Marty Sheargold?
Yep.
He's on Triple M. He's a comedian.
I think he calls himself.
So he's a comedian.
So you're gauging my reaction yet?
No, just everyone. You just be calm for a moment and just let me get my facts straight. You sent me a video of him saying some things about the Matildas and look on the back of, you know, a couple of weeks ago, Sam Kerr, all that sort of chaos that was going on. And I listened to that and I listened to it twice. And I thought it was bad. I got my own opinions on it. I'm interested in yours. I'm going to have an opinion after. I'm going to just reserve that for the moment. And he's also since, for what he said, given an apology. Calm down. Just control. Now, I would like you to, with some Ram Dass level of, you know, living in the now, give me your first reaction and then second reaction after calm response to whoever this person is. Marty Sheargold.
Can we just preface, like, I'm not a guru yet, right? So let's not impose on me any expectations.
No. This is just a reaction. Like, we're just two citizens, two kids from the burbs having a go.
Okay. My first reaction was just to be really angry.
Yeah.
That somebody with a platform like that, that is paid well and has the backing of sponsors and a whole radio station.
One assumes.
It's one thing that he thinks it, okay? But that someone who is that experienced, who understands their reach, would say something. I think from start to finish it was abhorrent what he said. It made me really angry for the girls on the team. It made me really angry for every girl who plays sport in Australia. And then it made me really angry for every girl because it's like, they say he said the quiet part out loud. I actually think he said the loud part out loud, especially when he said, I just see them as year 10 girls.
Yeah.
Among all the other bad things he said. And I think a lot of girls and women would have resonated with the feeling of what you see when somebody speaks like that.
Yep.
Because a lot of us,
because they've seen it 20,000 times.
We're treated that way.
Yep.
Year 10 girl, right?
And you're not like, let's be frank, you're not a raging feminist. Like, you're a pragmatist when it comes to understanding language and how, and like you understand that people in the moment live, like they say things, although albeit one line is different to 30 lines.
Yes.
That's where I think he runs into a bit of trouble.
Then I went, that's also un-Australian, right? Like, because all the arguments about, he's free to not.
Un-Australian.
He's free to not enjoy women's sport.
Yeah, change channel.
Sure, shut up. If you want to have an opinion and a discussion about women's sport, then have it in the right forum and have it intelligently, not joking in the way he did. If he spoke like that about the Aussie cricket team, saying, oh, geez, I hope they're into women, outrage, right?
Yeah, look, I'm not sure exactly what he meant there,
Careful.
but if that's what he meant.
I think it is.
Okay.
Anyway,
Anything
sorry.
else to add?
Hang on.
What about the apology?
Well, the apology was not an apology. He said, I'm sorry, I can see how it may have offended some people. He didn't say what he said was wrong.
Say that, let's not quote, but it didn't say if you are offended by that, I apologise.
He said, I can see now how that may have offended some people. So sorry, let me finish though. Then I've rolled to, weaponizing Ram Dass and seeing the little Marty inside.
Yes.
And I think he must have such disdain for year 10 girls because maybe he had a really hard time in year 10 with year 10 girls. Probably.
So you think this might be deep rejection issues?
Deep rejection issues. And then the next part.
Just.
Okay, last thing. Again, it's not what someone thinks. It's not then what someone says. The fact that this happens on a platform like that, the most frightening thing is that those views are held by probably a large group of men.
Yep.
Some know enough to not say it, but are still thinking it. They walk among us basically. And I think only a woman can understand what it feels like to walk in a world. And again, there's lots of different privilege and I'm not saying that I've had this I've got a lot of.
You don't need to start asterisking.
But I'm saying,
is a fair point.
As a woman, when you walk in a room and you are so acutely aware of the way that men perceive you. Some.
Yep.
That's a lot to walk around with. And then you hear it on the radio and you're like, yeah, I knew it. And it's just one more thing that we've got to deal with, right? And anyway, I think he's small. I think it's embarrassing. I'm angry that he probably won't get sacked. And they never do. They send dick pics. They upload things. They go and get jobs in corporates and make lots and lots of money. We make one little mistake and our name's mud and that's it. Anyway.
I just want to be very clear and say I agree with every single thing you just said, right? Philosophically, practically, pragmatically. I mean, I've coached girls. I've daughter, I'm all in. And this sort of, but I have a second position on this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the event, and this is not the first person who said this sort of stuff, be it sexist, racist, stupid. He said some very stupid things. I'm very forgiving to people saying stupid things. I mean that like legitimately, I'm less forgiving when it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 minute rant.
Yeah.
As opposed to one hot mic, bad line. Someone says a hot mic thing, they get caught. That's one thing, right? We're all human. Everyone says, if you got caught at your worst moment saying all of us and we're sent to, the gulag for that, there'd be no one left, right?
Yeah.
But when you're a person who's had maybe 30 years experience I assume they got a dump button, a 7-second delay or some such, at any time they could have bailed out of that conversation. For him to not like women's sport, so what, right? That doesn't bother me at all. For him to say maybe what we assume he was insinuating about the sexual identity of the players, well, he can get in the bin for that. But then I come to the free speech element and I say, I'm not a free speech absolutist, but I'm close. I would like the market to work it out. I would like the market to say, here's a person, like you're a comedian, be funny, bloody hell. This isn't funny at all. Be funny. That's job number one. If you can't be funny, be interesting. This isn't interesting. He, as you say, would maybe have sponsors that comes along with him. They can make a decision on whether they continue to support his. Hang on, let me finish. There's an audience. There's media.
Yeah.
And by the way, media is another conversation. The way media treats the way women are treated in society is often really poor. And so there's some work to do there. But if it was me and I was running that place, I would be removing him from but that's my standards and expectations. No, hang on. So I'm not asking others to have that standard and expectation, and nor should you, to be honest. I'm not even asking you to not have that. But the market will work it out. The sponsors, if they want to be involved with someone who's like that, then that's up to them and they can face the wrath. And if the Triple M or whoever it might be for the day want to be involved with the person who thinks and acts that way, then that's their business. That might be their base. That might be 60% of their listenership. What do you want to do? Sack him?
Yes.
I want him to sack him too, but
I don't
want to impose my or your judgment on someone.
I understand, and I know that it's like there's shades and it's, it's a spectrum and all of those sorts of things, but I don't think it's right to rely on the market to regulate bad behaviour. I mean, if you think I'm a lawyer, I've worked in top tier right through to boutique private practices. I've been around the law now.
And male-dominated industries and all this sort of business. I know it.
The market does not regulate this behaviour.
That's true.
Okay. The market will protect a partner that brings in $5 million of revenue over the $70,000 grad every day of the week.
This we know. No, this is not just something. That's not theoretical. We know this.
So I get what you're saying, but do you say, well, we're Triple M, our listenership is mostly
males of certain demographic,
uneducated men who.
All right, take a step back. Okay. You can't tar the listenership because of one clown.
Right. Okay. Fine.
Do you want to walk that back?
Sorry, they're men that might share that view.
Some men.
Is it okay? Do we as a society say, keep feeding them?
Yep.
And not actually bringing them along on some enlightenment or empathetic journey to understand that there's certain ways to behave, think in our society. This
is a very deep conversation. Are we moving away from this single issue?
If you'd like to, I feel like you want to.
No, I think if your social policy involves why don't people just start doing this, your social policy is never going to work. Why don't people start thinking or acting a certain way? You have already lost the argument.
That's why I'm not in politics.
Right. No, I'm saying in general social policy, not necessarily even for politics. Like just even if you're running a sports club, I think all you can do is set minimum standards and expectations. Minimum standards and expectations are this in my club or your club is that this person is sacked today.
Yes.
Right? No question about it. We run an organisation based on values. We have values, which means what? Something that we care about more than other things. Now, this to me is a situation where you've got a radio station, commercial interest, someone who obviously has a big followership. They got to make a commercial decision. If they keep him, they're making a commercial decision. They're not making a values decision, or their values include we're okay with this. That's what they're signalling to us.
Unless it becomes a commercial decision to sack him because it's going to affect their bottom line, which
I'll spin as a values decision.
But you're saying probably with Triple M, it's not going to affect their bottom line.
I'm not going to cast any view on them except to say that if he is in the job a month, 3, 6 from now, they accept his behaviour.
Yes.
And views, right?
That's what I think, But they've said today that they don't align with what he said.
Right.
So I put it up on my Instagram and I said, well, fire him. How have you got a mouthpiece?
Is that what you think should be the outcome? Or should it be suspension? What should it be?
This is not.
We're running the radio station.
Do you know, actually, I think that it's also matters that this is generally a sports station.
Yep.
I actually think if it was Kyle and Jackie O, I'd be more forgiving.
Interesting. Context matters.
Context matters. This is a sports station.
But is he a sports commentator?
But you're talking about values and what the radio station values.
So Triple M takes sports seriously.
And surely they take Australian
women's sports seriously.
Which include women's sports. That is that peak club, peak team of women's soccer in Australia.
Yep.
And he's just denigrated them.
Yep.
Without a care in the world. Now, I'm not clearly not big in sports. I know that most of the sports on Triple M, right?
They're a big sports network, yeah. Like
yes,
AFL, really strong AFL, cricket. I think they've got
Nova's
cricket.
not.
No.
101.1, 9,
got
Triple
it.
J, Triple M and SEN. What else is there?
3AW. A lot of them would do footy and whatnot, right?
I still think
ABC.
Anyway.
But they're a sport. No, they are much more sport than Nova or anywhere else.
If they accept it, they allow him to stay. Mm-hmm. They're saying to the world, we don't really care.
We're okay with that.
We're not here to lift up women's sport in Australia. And they don't even have to lift it up.
What if he apologised correctly instead of the non-apology that we saw?
How about this, Christian? How about Marty Sheargold goes out and plays against the Matildas for 1 hour, get that guy out there running, right? Have it live stream, then I'll move on. I want to see him run around on the ground. Doesn't even have to score a goal. I just want him to do a training with them for 1 hour.
Yep.
Let's see him keep up. Doesn't look like he could.
I like that. Like,
I kind of like that sick retribution kind of punishment.
It's like come to Jesus, buddy, see what happens.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
It's like, the man in the arena, like, not to take any like, was it FDR? I think it was FDR said something about the man in the arena. Basically, if they're in the cheap seats and they're not in the game, why would you even listen to what the hell they've got to say? Yeah. And I mean, I live by that. But instinctively, that's fine. But instinctively, it's hard because you hear those words, like these girls who aren't performing particularly well at the moment are going to hear those words. Sam Kerr's had a tough last few weeks, self-inflicted, but, like whatever. They're not in a good spot. No, hang on. Sorry. She said what she said, right? Yeah, 2 years ago on a bad night. I've got TikTok videos about it, by the way, if you want to know about what my opinion is on that. That's, I don't think there was any case to answer. I thought she said something stupid, which if she had immediately apologised, would have all gone away on the spot.
Anyway, back to what you're saying. Sorry.
Point being, they're not in a good spot. He's kicking them while they're down and in ways that have nothing to do with sport.
Yeah.
He can get in the bin. But it's now on Triple M. They make a decision. They're either supporting him or not.
Wouldn't it be funny if they've sacked him while we're sitting
Well,
here
they might do, and this might be, who knows how many days this takes to get to air.
But see, they'd have to look at what the agreement says with him.
But there's also law broadly, like we could cite 10 of these from the last 6 months, like high-profile situations you talk about, we won't mention them, but where you're right, they disappear for a few months and they pop back up again, play on. And it's like, I'm not one of these people that are like, everyone should just go to the gulag every time they say something stupid, right? But there is a privilege to being in a paid position.
Yes.
Professional. You're a professional broadcaster.
But again, it goes back to what you were talking about.
Minimum expectations, values, right?
And what I see, I don't look at these things in a vacuum. I look at it as the overall implication of walking past this sort of behaviour. And what the messaging is, you work with lots and lots of companies and so do I.
Yes.
And, I just frankly don't work with anybody who I don't share.
Same, but that wouldn't have been the case 15 years ago for us, right, when we were younger.
That's
now
right.
we have that luxury to work with values companies.
But I know that they're out there where there's conduct that happens and it gets washed,
Swept under the rug.
Or someone's paid out, or, often it's young women and they just go and find another job and get on with life
They
because
just hide away.
What are they going to achieve? They know they can't change the culture. They know it's not going to work out well for them because their overall messaging from their employers and the big companies they work with is that's okay. If I was at Triple M today,
yes,
I would have tipped my desk over.
Yes.
Honestly, I would say, if you do not
We've been
sack this guy,
it's room.
I'd have a Jerry Maguire with all the girls.
And you can leave.
What does he say?
What
does he say? Who's coming with me?
Yeah. Who's coming with me except Flipper?
I would hope
with the little
it
goldfish.
wouldn't be just Renee Zellweger,
but
just
one might
person.
be enough. That's how you start a movement. Okay,
If I left, it would be enough.
Well, the whole thing would come down if you left, Laura Racky.
Triple
Let's be
M would be
honest.
off
Come
to
on,
that.
it'd be
I'll
all
just
over.
pull the plug out on
the
the
whole
way through.
industry would come down. And wherever you went, it would come back to life. That's for sure.
All right, let's play a game
Okay.
where I'm going to give you 3 words or names or whatever.
Okay.
Because I like to mock you because you don't know the current zeitgeist.
So you're saying pop culture is not my strength?
I
Is that
wouldn't
what
even
you're saying?
call it pop culture. I just think and also I'll throw in some girly things. Let's just see.
Let's see what you got.
All right. This one just popped up before we started the podcast.
Does Christian know?
Okay. Do you know about Justin Baldoni?
Help me with a little bit more.
No.
Is this the guy who's the director
Of what?
of a movie? With what's her name?
Okay, I'll give you that.
Hang on, no, her name is Ryan Gosling's wife. No,
Close.
Nick Cave's wife. No, what's the actor's name? Ryan
Reynolds.
Reynolds. That's right. I know he's a superstar. And her name's Blake Lively.
Okay, well done.
And there's an accusation one way or the other that someone did something wrong. Am
You
I
had me
close?
at hello.
Okay.
So okay, fine. Tell me about
What's the story?
No, we're not. I want to just know if you know things.
Help me out here.
Beauty Loop. Tell me about the beauty loop.
I've seen a brand, Beauty Loop. I've seen something somewhere. It's ringing a bell.
What is it?
Beauty Loop. I mean, when I hear the word beauty, I can't get past you. So it just sort of blocks out everything else. And I end up in a loop.
Can you answer the question?
No.
Okay, good. I'm not going to explain it because all the women watching know exactly what I'm talking about.
All 3 of them, yep.
All right, one more. No, you'll know this one.
Come on.
Okay, I was going to say Kayla Etienne's, but I'm not saying
Kayla Etienne's, the one who had the sweat with Kayla.
Yeah, I knew you'd know because you looked at it from the business perspective.
Oh, because they were mega. She went around the world. Good luck to her.
Do you know what the controversy around her is this week?
I don't know, but I remember something about low calories, maybe body image issues. Is there something around that?
No, this week she posted on TikTok and she said that she didn't want to be drinking her morning coffee and watching her phone with her daughter and seeing fitness influencers filming from a particular angle.
Oh.
Which I think the assumption is that it's that booty angle.
Got it.
And, TikTok's gone nuts. Basically, all these women saying, you gave me an eating disorder. So
I got the second half of the story.
You shouldn't be body shaming women for showing their butt in the gym, basically. Get over yourself.
Where's the line? Who decides?
I think maybe she just doesn't have one. Like she's built her model on a very slim aesthetic, which is also her aesthetic. And things have changed and now we see all this.
What do you think it is? Do you think she's sitting there going, opening the phone, TikTok and going, I really don't want to see this? Or do you think, I think she's actually quite conservative. My instinct with her was always that she's quite conservative.
Right.
And she's from Adelaide, right?
She shows her butt and
churches.
She always has, but her butt is very thin and small.
So you think she's feeling inadequate?
I think that like many of us, we were raised in a time where it was about extreme thinness and that was what was beautiful. And
the smoking French model.
To her, a very strong, muscular butt is unattractive and she's just not computing why this is now. There's all these women who are spending time in the gym wanting to build their booty.
That's a hell of a reach, Laura Racky. That is like some proper – I love it.
And I love this – the way that fitness has gone for women.
Oh, man,
I love watching girls talking about how much they're eating to build their protein and getting strong and not thinking about being small.
Yes.
That makes me really happy.
How many Pilates do you do a week? How many Pilates do you do a week, Laura Racky? It's okay. You don't have to hide.
10 to 12 classes a week, if I'm lucky.
Yeah, if you get the time to do it, 10 to 12. So let's say 10.
Yeah.
So like 1.5 a day.
Actually, it's probably more like 12, actually.
12 a week.
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
You're calling me out here.
No, it's good. So what does it get you? What does it give you? Pilates 12 times a week. But by the way, you weren't always doing it 12 times a week. You're doing it like 7 times a week for ages. And only recently you've sort of doubled up. But
yes.
What is it giving you?
I do try and do a reformer a day, and then the other class will be a mat, but I'm trying to do mat with weights. So the reformer does something to my brain. I can't describe it.
Yep.
I can't explain it.
Yep.
Something about the movement, it unscrambles my brain. It makes me calmer. It makes me happy.
Yep.
I feel good. It's a good workout, but I don't think it's going to build the muscular strength that I need as I get older.
And the mat?
The mat is hot, sweaty, so that's great. Loud music, really challenging. I'm trying to get heavier and heavier weights every couple of weeks.
Awesome.
So it's almost like being in the gym, but in a dark room, sweaty with lots of other women. Sounds a bit.
Yeah. Sounds.
Anyway, it's fun. I feel amazing. I love both. But for me, this is probably like one of the first times in my life over the last couple of years that I've actually started thinking about moving my body to be healthier and feel physically good rather than
being
what I look like. Yeah. So when I think about Kaylee, it's Venus. I actually feel sorry for her because I know that feeling because I was Kate Moss era is when I was a teen, right? That is to me.
It's wired into your brain in those magazines.
It's all about not having a big bum and being stick thin.
A stick. But smoking French model, like that's the model I have of that period is like the smoking French model.
And you just can't realise how impressionable you are as a teenager. And now I'm just eating so much protein, so much meat, so much chicken. And I feel so good. My brain works better. I'm not as tired. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well, let's pivot now. I've got one more question for you. Because we've probably we've done pretty well here. I've got to say, I don't even know what we've talked about, but whatever. If you had 3 supplements that you had to not live without.
First.
All right. So if I had, okay.
Only 3.
Only 3. So like, I have, as you know, 92 vitamins, minerals, and amino acids every day.
Just to be clear,
supplement.
This is not an exaggeration. 92 is the number. There's a whole cupboard. It's up high because only you can reach it and only you need to reach it.
That's right. But that's okay. So if
they
I
come out on the bench, they cover the bench in the morning.
If I had to have just 3 supplements forever,
yes,
one would be vitamin D for sure.
Okay.
Like that would be because, I get enough sun but not enough sun. So vitamin D for sure. The second will be berberine.
Okay.
Right?
Why?
Well, it behaves, as best I understand it, it behaves like metformin, which is what it does is it mitigates the amount of the sugar in your blood, and it's basically a long-term hedge against high glucose levels in your bloodstream.
Yes.
And so it does a range of things, but I have berberine every day. I have breaks, but for the most part every day. And a third one, is protein powder a supplement?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well then it'd be protein powder, but then there's like 89 others.
We'll get to those next week.
Yeah, sure. And what about you? 3 supplements you would not live without? Because you, by the way, you can be pointing at me with all my concoctions, but you are the queen of powders. It's just a rolling thing
for me. I think though methylated folate has
methylfolate. I'm adding that as my 4th.
You weren't allowed a 4th.
I'm allowed to have whatever I want.
For me, I actually think that has seriously reduced physical anxiety in my body. We'll do it another. We'll
5.
Stop.
5.
Methylfolate has reduced the physical anxiety in my body, no doubt.
Yep.
I'm very confident in that. Beef liver, recent.
Yes.
I'm jumping out of my skin since getting onto the
beef liver.
Beef liver.
I'll talk about that next time.
Probably the nighttime yummy magnesiums that I have.
Magnesium, 6. I'm having 6.
But you can count mine. I think we have to wind up.
We overlap. Okay. All right. Well, we're back. I don't know what we're called yet.
was fun. You know what? This is the first time we've had a conversation for this long in the daylight hours.
In like 5 years.
Yeah.
So we don't know what we're called yet. Also, all the issues we talked about today might be resolved by the time this goes, and you know, and I might make some edits in post, although not to the content. Anything else you wanted to add before we go?
No. See you next week.
Talk to you next time.